I was in recovery after surgery, barely able to walk. My mother-in-law volunteered to help. On day 2, I woke up to my baby screaming alone in a wet diaper. She was gone. I called my husband. He said, "She left." Said, "You're not her problem." I dragged myself down the hall. The baby was blue-lipped. I called 911. The police asked me one question that changed everything. I'm Rachel. I live in Lexington, Kentucky. I'm 32 years old, married to a man named Aaron, and a few months ago, I gave birth to our second child, a baby girl we named Harper. The birth was rough. I had to have an emergency C-section because of complications, and I lost a lot of blood. I was in the hospital longer than expected. The doctors told me I needed rest, that I shouldn't be lifting anything over 5 pounds, and that I needed help around the house for at least a couple weeks. Aaron couldn't take more than 3 days off work. He works construction, and if he's not on site, he doesn't get paid. He suggested his mom, Sharon, come help out. I didn't love the idea. Sharon and I don't get along. She thinks I'm weak, dramatic, and that modern parenting is just whining with better strollers. She's the type who brags about how she gave birth without pain meds and was back on her feet cooking dinner that same night. But I didn't have a choice. We couldn't afford a nurse. My own parents were out of state and dealing with their own health problems. I needed help, even if it was from someone who barely tolerated me. Sharon showed up the night I got home. She brought a small bag and said, "I'll stay in the guest room, but I'm not playing maid." That should have been a warning sign. But again, I was desperate. I couldn't walk without holding onto walls, and I was in constant pain from the incision. I needed her to do basic things. Hold the baby, prep formula, maybe make a sandwich. Day 1 was quiet. She didn't talk much. She mostly stayed in the living room on her phone. When Harper cried, sometimes she'd get up and check, but a couple of times I ended up dragging myself out of bed to handle it myself. Still, I thought she was adjusting. Maybe tired. Maybe just being her usual cold self. But day 2 broke me. I woke up in a haze. I'd fed Harper around 3:30 a.m. and finally passed out after that. When I opened my eyes again, it was almost 8 a.m. The house was dead quiet, too quiet. Then I heard it. A scream. That sharp, painful newborn cry. Not just a hungry cry, something was wrong. I sat up fast, which made me nearly black out from the pain. My abdomen felt like it was tearing open. I called out, "Sharon?" Nothing. I grabbed my phone, saw I had no texts or missed calls. My heart was thudding. I forced myself out of bed and leaned on the walls to get down the hallway. When I reached Harper's bassinet, I froze. She was soaked. Her diaper had leaked through her onesie. Her skin looked pale, and her lips were bluish. Her tiny fists were clenched, and her whole body trembled when she cried. I didn't know what was happening. I couldn't think. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. The dispatcher was calm, professional. She told me to check her breathing. Is her chest moving? Yes. Is her mouth open when she cries? Yes, but she sounded hoarse. She told me to lay Harper flat, remove any wet clothes, and cover her with a warm blanket. I was doing everything with shaking hands, biting back tears and trying not to scream. The EMTs showed up within minutes. They took one look at Harper and scooped her up. One of them said, "We need to get her to the ER now." Another one crouched next to me and asked, "Do you have someone who can drive you to the hospital?" That's when I called Aaron. His voice was cold. Tired, maybe. Or just numb. "Where's your mom?" I asked. "She left," he said flatly. "What?" "She said she's not your babysitter. That you're acting helpless on purpose." I couldn't breathe. She left the baby. She left me. Aaron, our daughter could have died. He didn't respond for a second. Then he said, "Rachel, you're her mother. It's not my mom's job to parent your kid." I wanted to reach through the phone and slap him. I didn't even have the strength to scream. The police arrived a few minutes after the EMTs left with Harper. One officer stayed behind with me. He looked around, saw the couch pillows perfectly fluffed, the clean kitchen, the half-empty coffee mug on the counter. Then he looked at me, half collapsed in a dining chair, shaking, bleeding slightly from where I'd pulled my stitches. He asked, "Do you know why she left the house at 6 a.m. and never came back?" I blinked. "What?" He checked his notes. "Your neighbor saw her get into a silver SUV around 6:15. Said she looked angry. Do you know if she had somewhere else to be?" I didn't. But I had a horrible, creeping feeling in my gut that something more was going on. Something I hadn't been told. And I was right. I spent the next few hours in the ER, sitting in a wheelchair next to Harper's crib while doctors and nurses hovered around her. They told me she had early signs of hypothermia and severe dehydration. If I hadn't called when I did, she could have stopped breathing. They kept her under observation for 2 days. I didn't sleep. I just sat there, staring at her tiny chest rising and falling, trying to understand how any of this happened. Sharon hadn't called. Aaron hadn't shown up either. When I finally texted him asking if he was coming, he replied, "I've got work." "She's fine now, right?" That was the moment I knew something was broken. Not just with his mom. With him. When we were finally released from the hospital, I had a friend, Jenny, pick us up. She's a single mom from my old job who'd been checking in on me. When she saw my stitches bleeding through my shirt and how pale I looked, she shook her head. "This isn't just about your mother-in-law, is it?" she asked quietly. "No," I said. "It's not." Jenny helped me get Harper settled. While she was there, I opened my laptop and started digging. I looked at Sharon's Facebook, her Instagram, anything public. I wanted to see where she went that morning, if she posted anything, tagged herself somewhere. She hadn't. But I did find something strange. A photo of her at a fancy brunch place 2 weeks before Harper was born. She was sitting across from a woman I didn't recognize. The caption read, "So proud of my girl." I clicked the woman's profile. Her name was Erica. And she was tagged in a bunch of photos with Sharon. Some of them said, "My future daughter-in-law." My stomach dropped. I scrolled through her feed. And there, in the comments, was Aaron. Laughing, liking, calling her trouble. Then I found it. A photo posted 3 days before my surgery. Aaron and Erica together at a winery. His arm around her waist. I felt like I was going to throw up. I sent the screenshot to Jenny. She didn't even ask questions. She just replied, "You want to stay at my place tonight?" I did. The next morning, I called the officer who had stayed behind with me. I told him I wanted to file a report about Sharon abandoning my child. I gave them everything, the time she left, what Aaron said on the phone, the condition Harper was found in. They took it seriously. CPS got involved. But it didn't stop there. A week later, I was served papers. Custody papers. Aaron was suing me for full custody, claiming I was mentally unstable and physically unfit to care for the baby. And guess who wrote a sworn statement backing him up? Sharon. She claimed I refused help, that I was violent, that I pretended to be in pain to avoid caring for my own baby. She even said she left because I screamed at her and threatened her. All lies. I stared at that paperwork for hours. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I called Jenny and read it out loud to her. She was silent for a long time, then she said something I'll never forget. "If they're willing to play dirty, then it's time you show them what real dirt looks like." That's when I decided I wasn't going to let them win. I didn't sleep that night. I laid on Jenny's couch with Harper curled against my chest, staring at the ceiling, feeling rage build up inside me like a fire I couldn't put out. They wanted to take my baby. They wanted to paint me as weak. Crazy. Unfit. I wasn't letting that happen. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, one Jenny's sister used in her nasty custody battle. Her name was Marcy Beeler, and she was known for ripping people apart in court. I scraped together what money I had left from my maternity leave payout and borrowed the rest from Jenny. When I met Marcy, I told her everything. I showed her the medical records, the police report, the photos of Harper in the ER, the screenshots from Sharon's Facebook, and Aaron's little online fling with Erica. She listened carefully, then said, "You're in a good position. But we're going to make it stronger. You want to fight back? Then you need to hit where it hurts." The first step was digging into Sharon. Marcy hired a private investigator. Within 2 weeks, we had a report. Sharon had a suspended nursing license from back in 2009 due to patient neglect in an assisted living facility. That never came up in court because it was settled quietly. I also found out she wasn't just having brunch with Erica. Erica was living in Sharon's guest room. Since July. They'd been keeping it quiet online, but one of Erica's friends had tagged her in a birthday party photo at Sharon's house, and you could see Aaron in the background, holding a beer, arms around Erica. This wasn't just a fling. He'd moved her in before Harper was even born. That explained why Sharon was so cold that week. Why she left. Why she didn't want to be involved. To her, I was just the temporary inconvenience keeping her son from playing house with someone else. We filed for an emergency hearing. Marcy told the judge everything, about the abandonment, the hospital report, the photos, and the custody papers. But then she dropped the bomb. She called Erica to the stand. Erica looked stunned. She didn't want to testify. But she had to. Under oath, she admitted she'd been seeing Aaron since May. That Sharon had supported them from day one. That they all assumed I'd figure it out eventually. But she slipped up. When Marcy asked, "Did you ever spend the night at Rachel and Aaron's marital home?" Erica nodded. "Yes," she said. "Before she got discharged from the hospital. Sharon gave me the guest room." The courtroom went quiet. Even the judge's face changed. That meant Sharon had allowed Aaron's mistress to sleep under the same roof, our roof, while I was in the hospital recovering from giving birth to his child. I stared at Aaron, sitting across the courtroom. His jaw was clenched, but he didn't look shocked. He knew. He'd been hoping this would all get buried. But it didn't. The judge ordered a temporary restraining order against Sharon and denied Aaron's custody request. Harper stayed with me. But the real revenge hadn't even started yet. The custody case wasn't over, but that day in court changed everything. Aaron looked like someone who'd just watched his life fall apart. But I wasn't done. After that hearing, Sharon tried calling me. Left a voicemail crying, saying she was just trying to help and that I'd misunderstood everything. I didn't respond. I forwarded it to my lawyer. CPS kept the case open on her. And she knew it. Marcy had more plans. We filed a motion to gain full legal custody of Harper and to have Aaron's visitation supervised. We used everything: his emotional absence, the affair, the way he prioritized Erica and his mother over his own child. But the strongest card we had was Sharon's neglect. Leaving an infant unattended, leading to a medical emergency? That stayed in the judge's mind. Aaron's lawyer tried to settle. Offered joint custody, dropped the mental instability claims, and even offered child support. But I didn't want peace. I wanted him to feel what I felt the day I found Harper blue-lipped and alone. I declined the offer and pushed for trial. Then, I went one step further. I posted the full story online, with evidence. Photos, messages, even snippets of the court hearing that were public record. I blurred out Harper's face and protected my identity, but I didn't spare the truth. The post blew up. People found Sharon's old nursing case. They found Aaron's job and emailed the story to his company. Turns out the construction firm that employed him had a family values image to uphold. He was let go within 2 weeks. Erica? She moved out a month later. Apparently, when the paycheck dried up, so did her love. Rumor had it Sharon begged her to stay. She didn't. I almost felt bad. Almost. Aaron started missing court dates. Claimed he was too depressed. Then he tried to paint me as a bully in court. The judge didn't buy it. In the final ruling, I was granted full physical and legal custody. Aaron got supervised visits every other Sunday, only after providing proof of employment and a clean home environment. Sharon was banned from being present at any of those visits. She tried showing up once. The social worker called the police. That visit was cancelled. The next one too. Eventually, Aaron stopped coming. 6 months later, he moved to another state to get a fresh start. I haven't heard from him since. Looking back, I know I made mistakes too. I stayed silent too long. I let people like Sharon walk all over me. I believed Aaron when he said things would get better. But the day I found my daughter nearly lifeless, something in me changed. I wasn't a scared wife anymore. I was a mother with nothing left to lose. And that woman? She doesn't forgive.